Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dave Emmons Show. And twice weekly, I come up with a very, I think, very good guest that I'm able to get a hold of. And sometimes I'm fortunate and lucky to get a hold of these people. And I have a great guest today. She's written 35 books, and her name's Gloria Hass. And we're going to be talking to her for about an hour on this show. Some shows go longer, but we're going to do an hour today, and she's going to discuss her new book, and we're going to get into that in the intro. But meantime, since it's Dave Emmons Show, I'm gonna hog up the screen a little bit and try to sell my books, and that's my first book, and it's still selling rather well. And my second book is this one here, Senseless Wars. That one needs to be sold more, so buy it. Okay. Then my third book is coming out in 2 weeks. It's Angels and Supernatural Entities, and that should be in about 2 weeks. But right now, I'm going to focus everything on Gloria Hass. And Gloria Hass is an award-winning best-selling author. She has published over 35 books, all of which are for sale on Amazon. Gloria is a visionary starseed, natural-born clairvoyant, and healer as a mediumistic abilities, along with having many spiritual gifts. She has experienced multi-dimensional contact, which includes intimate interactions with the gray extraterrestrials. She has also had contact with other alien beings, and I can kind of share. I know how she feels. I've been there too, Gloria. And Gloria writes about some of her UFO, paranormal, metaphysical, extraterrestrial experiences in her blog titled Messages. And so that's a blog that she has. We'll have her talk about that too. And she also has written her life as a starseed and a gray hybrid in her book, My Journey as a Gray Hybrid. And we're going to be heavily talking about that book. And Gloria Hass, welcome to the show. Anything to add? You want to show your book cover first to show them what we're talking about today? Okay, there it is. My Journey is a Gray Hybrid, Gloria Hass. She designed the cover, and it looks like it's a, well, I can't do that. I can't design anything like that. Kudos to you on that. Yeah, but we're gonna be talking about that book. Tell me, how did you get involved in UFOs and ETs, Gloria? You've written 35 books, and you said most of them were crime dramas, and then there's a few romantic novels that you've written. But how did you get off onto this UFO thing?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I was interested, like in Star Trek as a child and stuff, but I knew something was different. As a child, my brother and we had a hole in the backyard where my dad was digging a doughboy swimming pool,
Right.
and he had a heart attack and could no longer, finish it. And before he could even fill it back in, he had months of, recovery. And my brother and I said, can we play in the hole? Because, it wasn't that deep. And my dad goes, yes. So we would play. We're in a spaceship and we're flying off to parts unknown. And my brother knew that he had been adopted, and he was saying, let's go and find my family. I said, well, let's go find mine, because this isn't my Earth family. And he looked at me like I was really crazy. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm not from here. So as a child, I knew that I was not a full human. But when I was always fascinated in UFOs, even though my family wasn't. And I was about, I think, 9 or 10 between when I saw my first UFO hovering above my head. Mm-hmm. When I had seen animal decapitation.
Really? You saw? Did you see that the ETs did this decapitation?
There was a half a horse laying on the street.
Ooh.
And my girlfriend and I had seen it as we were coming back from her house to my house. We're going to go to the park to play, which we had to go past my house to get to the park. And it was laying right by our neighbor and the field next to us. Mm-hmm. And she went and got her mom. I went and got my mom. And by the time we came back, the horse was gone, but there was a pattern of blood, dry blood, where the horse had been laid.
Did it seem like it was just cut surgically right in two, or what?
Yes, like this part. Yes, and laying on its side.
Wow. So it had to have been somebody not of this world, or not practicing as a human when they do an animal mutilation, Gloria?
Right, because I had just passed by there like 7 minutes before, 5 to 7 minutes, and it wasn't there because I had to go right by that area to go to my friends. And when we were coming back, we saw it. And after her and her mother went home and my mom went home, I had to give my mom a few minutes to calm down. um, the horse, had been gone, and I looked up, and I heard telepathically look up, and when I did, there was a silver round spaceship hovering over me, and I said out loud, "What did this horse ever do to you to deserve this?"
Well, so you made the connection by seeing it
Yes,
too. Now, what did the craft look like at the bottom, Gloria? Did it have some kind of a shape or mechanical devices?
it was round, and it had like round. You know what the inset lights look like in a house? You have the bulb up in and there's a
Right.
thing. That's what it looked like on the bottom. They had a circle of them around it, and it was silver.
Yeah. Metallic. That's what most of them are, dark gray, they say. And at night, they're usually darker gray because I guess they change their colors. They can actually go invisible, and they can hide themselves. So that was your first experience. So
Yes.
what happened after that? Was there something that happened immediately after that, Gloria, or did it take some time?
I would say not long after that, I had alien encounters in my bedroom with the little green men, and they had long needle-like, pin-like fingernails, to say, and they were short. I was taller than them, and they would move my bed. They would claw up my legs and scratch my arms and everything, and poke me, and draw blood and everything. That happened. I think that went on for almost a year. I'm not sure, but it just seemed like a year being a child that long.
When did they do this? Early in the morning or late at night while you were in bed?
Late at night when I was in bed after my parents and my brother were asleep.
Okay, you're saying that they drew blood with their fingers. Was that, you think they were just testing your DNA? Did they use any other devices? And explain what these little grays look like and about how tall were they, or green. You call them green. At night, a lot of times they do appear a green, because the one I saw was gray green, and he was about 3.5 feet tall. And he had really deep wrinkles in which you can lose a credit card in. So yeah, he was ugly. But well, what could you describe these little critters, and then what they did, and how come you think they were doing it, Gloria?
I don't know why they were doing it unless they were the people who were in the spaceship and I was being, punished for speaking out against, the dismemberment, decapitation of the animal. And they were a couple of feet tall. I was taller than they were. As an 8-year-old, I don't know how tall we are, what, 3 feet tall? So I would say they're probably 2 feet tall. And they had huge bulging eyes, and they looked green. And they would turn the light on in my bedroom and I could see them very well. And they had teeth that, gosh, it was really hard to tell. They were very pronounced teeth and lips that went over, but I could see the fingernails. They reminded me, remember, like scissor hands. His fingers. That's what their fingers and nails look like.
That's a different description than what I've heard, and I've heard of long fingers, like 3 or 4 long fingers. I've heard of them using instruments, on people. They actually are reading your mind. In their brains are computerized. They can read your mind. They know your frequencies, and the way they tracked you was with your frequencies. When they were over you with the spacecraft, what they did is they uploaded a lot of your frequencies of your body. Everybody has their own frequency, their DNA, so they know who you were. That's how they tracked you. But in describing these critters, 3 feet tall, and you said they were green, and they had teeth. You said, were they sharp teeth, Gloria? They looked.
They look like it. They never bit me. I just got jabbed with the long nails and stuff, but they knew when my mom was going to, because I was screaming, and my dad would wake my mom up and say, Gloria's having a nightmare. They would shut off the light and they would leave. My mom would flip the light on, and the bed was actually the heavy oak beds that we had as kids was in the middle of the room.
Wow. So your parents were aware that these things were happening.
Yes, and they said that I was moving the bed on my own and I was making it up to get attention.
that's that's how parents are. I had to run in with my mom when I showed her an implant, and she said, "Get rid of that thing." So yeah, that was back in the early '60s. So I'm a little bit older than you, so that we didn't have no idea of what was going on with space and with ETs. But with you, you're saying that they moved your bed. Why in the world would they move your bed? To give them more room to work on you?
Probably because they were jumping up on the headboard and almost like playing ring around the rosy on the bed and then jabbing at me and stuff. And I would be standing up screaming. They'd be pulling my hair, and it was not a fun experience. And then this ended when the lady in white came, and she stood in my doorway and told me that they would never bother me again. And they would even come up out of my sheets and come up underneath the sheets and with horrible,
So they
face.
were actually teleporting into your room, and that's what they normally do anyway. I even have pictures of dark holes where they teleport through, and with a mist, they come through. They materialize, and when they come in, finish. But you're saying, okay, now the lady in white, that is actually in my new book coming up, Gloria. And it's strange. You're mentioning a lot of things that are synchronizing my bits of the puzzle. And you're telling me these things, and I'm saying, wow, what did the lady in white look like? Because I never saw her face. I just saw her in a long robe, and she was at the end of a bed, and she walked away as I was watching her walk away, and she disappeared. What did this lady in white look like? Could you tell me and give me some information?
She reminded me of the Virgin Mary. I was not brought up Catholic, so I didn't even know who the Virgin Mary was until later on. And then I saw a picture of the Virgin Mary, and because we went to a wedding, and I thought, well, that's what the lady in white looked like. She had the headcloth on, like the Virgin Mary did, as they wore in biblical times. She was all white energy, and she had a similar outfit on as to what Jesus and his mother wore during that time period.
And you said she communicated to you, Gloria? And
yes, she did. And it sounded like it was audible out loud, but might have just been in my head, because if she would have been out loud, she would have woken my parents up. And telepathically, she said, you don't have to worry. They won't bother you again. You are safe. And I've never seen the little green men since.
What about the lady in white? Have you seen her, Gloria?
No, I have not.
One time. I've seen her twice, but the aliens never did quit leaving me alone. I've been kind of tormented now about they mess with my computer. I know it's them. It's either them or some secret organization. I don't even want to talk about that. But they if they know your contact and you have a lot of experiences, a lot of times other people want to find out other than host like me, if you understand. But
yes.
Okay, now you have met other people in a neighborhood that have seen these UFOs around your house. Has there been any witnesses, Gloria?
Just the one girlfriend, but recently, that was back then, but recently, well, they followed me around since now about 2017, 2018, where I lived on the east side of the town I live in Arizona. And one of the women approached me, and she asked me, she said, I just have a feeling to ask you, do you want to go see some UFOs? And she told me, I said, where do we go? We just stay here in the apartment complex. And there were different UFOs, and the Air Force was doing drills, I guess, with them, or trying to get close to them, and they would go away. And okay, let's say the UFOs are right here up in the sky, like 3 or 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then way over, you can't see my hand on the screen, but
Yeah.
let's just say way over many ways was a metallic circular spacecraft watching them.
Okay.
And they were there practically nightly. And then sometimes they weren't there. And we called ourselves the UFO watch group.
That's great. I would like to, belong to a group like that, because I go to Sedona every once in a while, and I've been there for a while, but that's where I've seen some things, and things have happened. So you're in a state in Arizona, and we won't name the city or the town. I don't do that. I don't like doing that on the show, but you're in a state that really has a lot of action. And I know Sedona has a lot of action. So Gloria, you're in the right place, I guess, to find out more. Now have you been abducted, you think, from these little teethly, ugly looking things? Gloria, have you ever been, taken from the bedroom or taken somewhere else?
Yes, I have. I was in my 20s, and I've had quite a few abductions. I know of, in 1 year, I was abducted 3 or 4 times. And just recently, a couple of weeks, about a month ago, I was abducted, and they were not very nice. And I remember my memory came back going, I remember seeing them before and being in the same thing. And I woke up with marks on my leg, both of my legs, and on my right shoulder was claw marks and puncture wounds.
Wow. Now, what or were they the same ETs that involved themselves with you earlier on in life, Gloria?
No, I have written down. I'm going to read it. Here we go. No, because it's quite lengthy. I wrote this in a book that I'm going to be another experience book that will be released next year. And these beings they look like they were, there was a mob of them, and they were horrific looking, and they looked sort of like gorillas. And they were quite hairy, and they had black coarse hair, which looked almost like fur, but their faces looked like they were covered in boils, and their faces were distorted. And some of them had red glowing eyes, and some of them had clear eyes. And they had me in a room. Some were coming from behind me, some were coming from in front of me. And they put me into a room. I hadn't nowhere to go, and a door opened, and the floor fell when I was there. And there was black netting with, it looked, like the handles you have on a trolley or a bus that you can hold on to. They used to have that you could hold on to. And I grabbed a hold of those in order not to fall down. And then they were jabbing at me and everything else. And then they would laugh and smile, and they had large crooked teeth, and they had noses that were pug shaped, similar to a pug dog. And then they were able to levitate. Well, I had to hold on to the handles and the netting. The netting would start giving, so I had to grab the handles. And while they were levitated, they were jabbing at my legs. And I moved around the netting to get away until I couldn't, because they kept circling in closer and closer.
Yeah. Now we talk about Bigfoot. Some people say, I've had Bigfoot researchers, and some people say they're dimensional. They can disappear when they see them in the forest, and they can just take 1 or 2 leaps and they're gone. And then they don't find any skeletal remains of Bigfoot. Gloria, do these creatures remind you of Bigfoot? How tall were they?
Well, because they levitated, I don't know their real height, but I know that they towered over me. Their heads were like a couple of feet above mine, but they were levitated. So I really don't understand how tall. They may not have been, maybe 6 feet tall.
Okay. But yeah, but that can be like 6 foot tall. I guess Sasquatch or Bigfoot also. Uh, those are usually the young ones, but can they shapeshift? More than likely, yeah. There's a lot of shapeshifting going on with extraterrestrials and also some humanoid type entities. But was this something that you woke up from a nightmare and you had a lucid dream and you regressed this incident, Gloria?
No, I believe I was there live because when I woke up, my legs were itching really bad and I was rubbing them.
Okay.
And I had a hard time going back to sleep. I thought, did I have a nightmare? And then the next morning, I woke up and saw the markings. I had one marking on my right leg, two on my left, three. I find it interesting. One mark on my right, two marks on my left, three claw marks back here with two puncture wounds in front of it.
Oh, maybe that's where they were handling you or getting you in position, whatever. Uh, did you take pictures with all these scars and stuff?
Yes, I
And
do
and
have pictures.
are they gonna be in a book?
Yes, they are.
Good, great. That'd be good for people out there, the viewers, to say, okay, we want to see these scars and everything. I've got scars myself, and they got like 3 puncture wounds, and sometimes they got scrapes, and you got scratches where you never can tell. But you have these lucid dreams, and a lot of like Professor Mack and Dr. David Jacobs always said that 50% of the people who've been abducted, they don't know. I know I repeat this all the time, but I just want people out there to know that sometimes if you have a lucid dream and you wake up scratching your head, said, what happened? Uh, you could have been abducted. Can you really put tangible proof to it? A lot of times not. Only if you have some kind of a liquid or you have some kind of a mark that they leave on you, or like you have scratches, puncture wounds. Uh, what do you think they were doing to you at that time, Gloria? What was their objective?
I don't know. I'm in my 60s. I know that when I was in my 20s, in a child, that would be one thing. But I really don't know why they would want it unless I have really good DNA that they're going to pass on and recreate, their own. I really don't know.
Right, that's still a lot of questions. Even the talking heads who think that they have us experiencers down pat, and they think some of us are fools. I got an agenda on that. I'm sorry, people, but really, us experiencers, just like yourself, you have a story to be told, and there's a lot of people, our own ufologists and our own talking heads, are it's just almost as bad as the government. They call people like us kooks, crazy, but actually these things are really real. I mean, they come in through dimensions, they teleport, they come in through portals. So they can just come into our minds, and they can read our minds, and they can also put input in it. They can erase your memory and put
Yep.
things in there that you never thought of before. So actually, lucid dreams can give you a secret to what some of these things are about, but we still haven't figured out why they abduct certain people. The only thing I can think of is that we consist of probably several spiritual beings, and that we have other beings in our DNA. They don't know what 90% of our DNA is all about. So scientists can't confirm that, but we do have DNA that keeps recycling throughout the years, like in reincarnation. Here I'm getting into religion, but I really think that what they're doing is they're following you. It may not be directly you, myself also. It could be something else that's hidden in us that they want to tap into and read out and get some kind of a conscious readout for them. Gloria, you mentioned other things too. Did you think that they ever wanted to impregnate you or take your eggs, Gloria?
Actually, I was impregnated three times when I was in my 20s. And when you had mentioned that we have other beings inside of us, I am of the benevolent grays, extraterrestrials. And I do remember my life before I came to Earth. And my spirit was put into my mom had a stillborn child, and they were about to pronounce her dead when I started crying, when the doctor, used to hang us upside down and spank us. And then, I came here. So that could be why. And I've had I've had a human pregnancy, which I miscarried. And then I had 3 more pregnancies, but it was by them because my husband at the time had already had a vasectomy and was completely sterile.
Oh, that probably stirred up some problems, didn't it?
Well, I had 2 pregnancies that year in 1977, and then in 1982, I had another pregnancy, and he just thought that I was getting fat or that it was just stress related that I was missing my period.
Okay, but what did you go to the doctor, and what did the doctor say?
I was pregnant.
So you told your husband you was pregnant? Uh,
No, I never told him I went to the doctor. No.
okay. Oh, so what happened to the child? I mean, the was it stillborn? Did they take it away from you, Gloria?
The first 2 terrestrials were taken from me, and the one that I had, I was in what we call a human pregnancy, is 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
But come to look at it, it looks like it's a full term with, the extraterrestrial. I was in my 5th month, and I was at a friend's house when I miscarried. And my husband kept, my dog, I don't know if you can hear her, she's dreaming.
Okay.
um, Okay. No, I was 5 months, what they would say 5 months pregnant, and I was showing because this, is my 4th pregnancy. And my husband kept complaining that I needed to lose weight. And I just told him one day, I said, I'm pregnant. He goes, it's not mine. He goes, and you go to work and you come home. So I know that, and you watch my son while I go out. So I know it's no one, you haven't been with anyone. So and I hadn't been. So when I lost that baby, I could feel my water break, and I had labor, went into labor, and the extraterrestrial was born into the toilet. There was blood in there, and the baby was gray with the big black eyes and a fringe of hair at the back of its neck.
Oh,
And then next thing I know, poof, it was gone.
really? They teleported
Yes,
it out
they
there.
took it.
Yeah, they were following you. They was reading your frequencies, and they know where you're at. They know what's going on in your life. You probably implanted too. Have you noticed any implants in you, Gloria?
No, no implants. Nope.
That's a secondary thing they do. They can actually track you from your frequencies, and they don't need to implant you. But and implants are also mysterious too. Why? Some of them are kind of like they're carbon based, and they kind of melt into your blood and your DNA system, and some of them are metallic. And what those are for, they put out a little small frequency, and some ET races, I guess, use different methods in tracking you. But you said you had several uh, babies like this, Gloria?
3.
Three, and all
2 boys and a girl.
and all three were taken away from you.
Yes.
Wow. Your husband must have been very supportive. I mean, that's incredible to try to explain, I guess, Gloria, and I guess that's part of the pain that they put you through. Trying to explain your life, happenings, especially in pregnancy. Now, have you ever seen any of these children? They say that a lot of times you'll see them one time, and then that's it. Have you seen them, Gloria?
And when I was in my 30s, I was in my 30s living in California. I have to go back to when was this? And I was in my apartment, and the doorbell rang. And I go to the door, I look through the peephole, and I didn't see anyone, so I didn't open the door.
Yeah.
And then a different day, there was the doorbell rang, and I opened up and I heard knocking towards the bottom of the door. And I thought, what? And I opened the door, and there were 3 gray extraterrestrials about a foot tall, about 1.5 feet tall, giggling and laughing and running off. And they would even follow me to my job. I got fired from a temporary position because they would come in, and they were mischievous. They're little kids, and they would take above. This is when we had electric typewriters.
Mhm.
And on the wall, let's say like this is the picture, it was a shelf unit, and I'm sitting there typing, And next thing I know, I get up from my desk and my boss's door was open and he could see, I was in his field of vision. Next thing we know, the shelf unit fell down and I was at the copy machine. And it was just like, okay. And he'd look at me and comes out, what did you do? I said, I'm over here. I don't know. And you could see that the shelf unit was faced like that and the books had slid off. Well, we got it back up and I put the books up. And the next day I was sitting at my typewriter and he was watching me and he heard noises and said, Gloria, are you making noise? I said, no, sir. And the next thing you know, you could just see there was a line of books. We had dictionaries on our desk. We didn't have computers, thesaurus, and other books that my boss wanted there and files. And you could just see them fly right off the desk and hit the floor. And he called the temporary agency and said, weird stuff happens when she's here. I don't want her back.
Really? So you have a witness to that. Now these only a foot and a half tall, Gloria? Mm-hmm. They were like little gnomes, right? Did they look like the green guys that you've seen before?
No, these are gray extraterrestrials. They were my daughter and my two sons.
Oh, okay. So you think they were growing? They were just younger? Mm-hmm. And what did they look like? They look part human like you and then part gray alien?
Well, they had the black lenses that they wear when they come to Earth over their eyes. But I saw my daughter and my youngest son last year, and my daughter has brown hair and blue eyes. And my youngest son has the black lenses over his eyes. And I won't see my older son because he has decided to go and be a rebel and not be one of the good guys. And he's gone off to be nasty and mean with the world.
Okay. What are so they can be invisible, I guess. Is that what you're saying, Gloria? They can be invisible, yeah. Now, where do you think they come from? Have you gotten any ideas? I know that you say that you communicate with extraterrestrials. Gloria, what have they told you?
They've just told me that recently that there's going to be more abductions and not to be afraid because they want people to get accustomed to their presence. And they're not here to traumatize. They're just here to get people acquainted because they're here for helpful reasons. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I'm going to go back to the lady in white because that interests me because I saw her twice back in the early 70s and I saw her in 1998. It was 20 years apart, but now the message I got from her was kind of like peace and everything will be fine, but that was telepathically. There wasn't any other communication. I didn't feel anything. Now she had talked to you, Gloria, and said that the ETs wouldn't bother you no more, but she lied to you, right?
This was the little green men would never bother me again.
Oh, those three men. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But you had other ETs like the ones that you were talking about, the furry ones. They're very ugly and 6 feet tall. Okay. You had these three births and you had these little ones come back to you. Have they been back and seen you since?
Last October, I got to see my extraterrestrial mate was talking with me. He wanted to know if I wanted to see, my children. And of course, I'm in shock. And of course, all of this stuff, coming forward, all this information was very, very difficult for me to digest. I'm like, I don't know. Will they take me against my will? Will my dog be here left alone? What's going to happen? And what they did was they took my spirit aboard the spacecraft where I was shown technology, and I was being shown some new technology. And the first visit was with my youngest son, and I didn't know it at the time. And then the second visit was with my daughter, and I was brought back, and I have visited with them telepathically since.
You said, who'd you say was your contact earlier, Gloria?
My extraterrestrial mate, the one who impregnated me.
Oh, okay. So this was done not by snatching your fertile eggs or anything, but it was actually done through copulation. Gloria, you're saying?
It was dedication on the spaceship.
I
All
see.
I remember is being levitated up. I don't remember copulation, but I did feel like I had sex.
Okay.
And on the spaceship on a metal table, and there was a smaller, younger gray. I remember taking me and somebody else there, and I asked, "Why are you bringing us here?" He said, "Because I want to show you where you were brought," and that's where I saw the tall whites and everything. And I remember them and said, "This was the room." And I said, "Yes, I remember being here." So
Okay.
I had,
You saw a mixture of ETs together, Gloria, the tall whites and the grays.
yes.
Yeah. There's been a lot said about the tall whites, the Nordics, actually having the grays as workers, or they're biomechanical type beings, and so yeah, they're always seen together. Did you see the Nordics interact with you or anything like that, Gloria?
Only back in 2017, 2018 here in Arizona,
Okay.
when we were doing the UFO watch group.
Oh, okay. You actually met him at that time?
Yeah, one walked right by me. She was 6 foot tall. And it was interesting. It was during the fall. And of course, in Arizona, we don't have cold weather at that time. And she's wearing wool pants and the fur lined boots and the fur lined vest. And her eyes were so light blue, they almost looked white. And she had long blonde hair.
Okay. And yeah, they say they're attractive people. I mean, they can walk amongst us, but yeah, they don't dress properly sometimes. They wear what other human, I guess, styles that they've captured before or have taken or whatever. But I saw the same thing, that they usually wear the same thing also, because they're usually in their own suits. They got these tight suits on, space suits, whatever, and actually those have all kinds of instruments involved with them. They can disappear and everything. But when I was in Sedona, I saw a very tall lady too that kind of looked like what you're talking about. You can feel the strange energy. Is that what you felt, Gloria? The energy off this person?
I just saw somebody walking towards me. And I just, yeah, and I thought it was unusual. And she looked at me and smiled. And and yeah, there was a different type of energy from her. And when I turned around, she was gone. And one of the women from the watch group said, "Did you see her? Did you see her?" And I go, "Yes." She said, "That's a Nordic and they're the good guys.
Yeah,
They're
they
here to protect us against the bad guys." And I said, "Did you see her disappear?" She said, "Yeah." It was just like poof, she was gone.
Yeah. Uh, that's part of my new book that I'm writing. That's part of that story that's in that. So yeah, they are the good guys. The bad guys are living here on Earth underneath the caverns and the tunnels. That's reptilians, the tall grays, and also the mantis type beings. They are enemies of the Nordics and the tall whites. And actually, the Nordics and tall whites are protecting this planet. I know I'm getting off into sci-fi, but it's probably could be real, because we have been protected from these evil aliens that want to take advantage of us, and they still are underground and everything. We say that also there's some evil humanoids that's working with them too. But let's get back into this. You said you're star seed, and could you tell us why you think you're star seed and what that means, Gloria?
Well, I have the profile. Mary Rodwell I had seen her in a documentary with David Icke or Ick, and I looked her up, went to her website, and there was a profile for experiencers, and I filled it out. And she wrote me back and said, "You have the profile of a starseed." I've never felt like I've ever belonged on Earth. I've have memories, like I said before, of before I came to Earth. And I remember, and I write about this in my book, about being in my room on the spaceship and being asked if I was ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it was time, and was I ready? And I said yes. And I feel at home among the stars. I feel at home in the country away from people. I don't feel comfortable around people because I feel all of their energy
Yeah,
inside.
you're an empath.
And
You're an
hmm,
empath. Yeah, an
yes,
empath. You collect. It's like me. I have people around me that are sick, and a lot of my friends are sick or fighting some health issues. I absorb that, and sometimes I just think, wow, this is crazy, you know, with people what some people are struggling through, and we all are struggling through this life. It's a trial and a test period for the next life beyond. Now, communicating. Did you communicate with the Nordics, the tall whites, Gloria?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I just, she just nodded at me and I just said hello, and that was about it. And then she walked past and she was gone.
Okay. You have some tangible sources, like you've seen a UFO up close. You've seen these little critters in your room, and so and you said that that was a conscious event. And
Mhm.
how many other UFOs have you seen, Gloria?
Well, the past couple of years, quite a few. I have pictures that I'm going to be having in my next book. I was outside with one of the women who I'm friends with in the building, and she wanted to see UFOs. And, they were out there. And I even have a picture of a cigar shaped UFO outside my bedroom window that
Now,
I took a picture of.
were these up close? Could you tell what they look like?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, very up close. The ones that are up in the sky, I could, with my camera, I can only tell you that, it's they have a light, and then there's some squiggles on the picture. And I was telling the woman, I said, I think I moved. She said, no, the UFO moved while you were taking the picture. She said, I watched it, and one night we saw four saucer-shaped UFOs. Four went one way, and three went off, and then the other one turned around and zipped across that way.
Yeah. You know, you you're combining lucid dreams and regressions. I call them regressions when you have lucid dreams. They're allowing you to know so much. There are some things that they blank out. They can manipulate your memory. But when you have tangible, like you see UFOs up close, the scientists, I'm bringing up Dr. Jacobs and Professor Mack also, they say if you're within 150 feet of a UFO, you are nabbed. You're their target. If they get that close to you, they're interested in you. They're going to nab you. That's what I was told. Dr. David Jacobs told me that at a convention one time. I had a chance to talk to him, and he said, "Have you seen UFOs up close?" I said, "Yeah, I've seen at that time. I think I saw four up close at that time." And I said, "Yeah, four." He said, "Within 150 feet." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You were abducted." Right away, he just said, "You've been abducted." So if you have this tangible sighting of UFOs, you that's what that's that connects everything that you dream or lucid dream about. It's a regression. Uh, and is that how you feel about it, Gloria? There's a connection.
No, I don't think they nabbed me. If they did, I don't have memory of it. But I remember it was last year, or yeah, I think it was last year. And I said to them, I said, you've always looked over me, that I can remember, always watched over me. Now that I'm walking my dog it was in the early mornings when I used to have to be up at 4 in the morning and I didn't feel comfortable being outside. I said, is it possible that you could have someone out there watching over me? And two UFOs would watch me. And the woman in the building said, where did they come from? I said, I asked for help and they brought them.
Oh, so along with these sightings, you have witnesses like your group
Yes.
and everything else, Gloria. That's fascinating. You have all that in your book, in this new book that you're selling on Amazon now.
Yeah, and my journey as a hybrid, I talk about the group, about the watch group that we have. I have that in there. But in my next book that will be out in January, called, okay, what is it? It's called Extraterrestrials, Paranormal and Metaphysical Events, the year 2023. And that will be out.
That picture to your left shoulder on the back, is that a cover of another book?
Yeah, that's one of my blank line journals.
Oh, okay. All right. And that's where you designed that yourself. So
Yes.
you're an illustrator. That's great. It makes the publishing a book much easier. Uh, how would someone else communicate with extraterrestrials? And I ask these questions of spiritual people, people that are telepathic. Uh, I ask them that you can call ETs, but
Mhm.
when I see ETs or are visited, I don't know. I don't necessarily call for them. Maybe subconsciously, I'm communicating with them, and they show up. They show up when they want to. But Gloria, what have you learned? How could people actually contact extraterrestrials?
Well, they can tell like telepathically, like your people like, well, what's that? It's like you talk, you have to run your dialogue in your head, like when you're talking to yourself, but you can telepathically, you can say in your head, I come in peace and I would like to meet you. They hear you. They may not respond, but they hear you.
Yeah, what they say in physics is that when you mumble a word or even a thought, it could actually transmit to another universe. That's
Yes.
yeah, it's a and you get into some of that. You talk about interdimensional too, multi-dimensional. Have you have you felt, Gloria, that you went into another dimension at times?
Yes, I have. I've been into different dimensional planes. In my book coming up in January, I talk about parallel, and I even have part of this on my blog, my multidimensional visit to Hawaii and Greece. And I've traveled back in time and I've met the ant beings, people that look like they were humanoid look, but then the woman next to me was an ant being and she was showing me how their ant body was, their skeletal
Mhm.
was still inside the human thing. And I'm also a remote viewer. And I've helped law enforcement and missing and people locate and look for missing people. And the visions come. It's like last October, and I wrote about this in my journey as a gray hybrid. Last October, my daughter came to me and said, "Sit on the couch and relax." And I'm like, "Okay." She said, "We're going to go for a little trip." And I was inside a restaurant in another country, and there was railing when I walked through the restaurant, could go left or right, but there were flagstones in front of me. And she showed me, my spirit went down in there into the tunnels. And I was recently on a show a week or so ago about the missing persons, and this was part of it. And then yesterday or the day before, I was, it was in the evening and I was relaxing. And all of a sudden, I see a white spirit form of a woman, and it was among all black. And here I thought I was dying because I thought it was me and I was crumpling over. And I woke up with a shock in my right side. And then last night, I asked, okay, I need to go into this vision more. And it was more on the missing persons thing of who it's involving more and what's going on. I was on a panel of psychics and mediums and remote viewers on this one podcast. And I'm getting more visions of where the
Right.
missing people are.
You've been on quite a few shows, have you, Gloria?
Yes, I have.
And they can Google your name and probably bring up these shows. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just, I guess we made a connection through either Facebook or LinkedIn or something, and I thought your story to be fascinating, and I'm at a place, in what I'm doing these shows is getting people's stories out there. People that have reputable stories, and you have, some tangible and consciousness and also lucid dreams that ties all together. Now you're a psychic and you're also a, I guess, remote viewer. Do you think you were born with these abilities, Gloria, or did the ETs implant those in you?
Well, with being a starseed, I believe it was part of my spirit because I remember as a small child, I could see far, far away. And I was with my parents and my brother, and that's when we had those old cars where they had the back seats that were about the size of a bed and the hump in the middle. And I was standing on the hump before seatbelts, people, standing on the hump. And my dad looked at my mom and said, "We're running on empty. I think we're going from Indiana to California." And then we had never been down that road before and had to go down a deep incline and go up a hill. And my mom said, "Just do the best you can." He goes, "I don't know where we're going to get gas." And I could visually see with my eye. I said, "Daddy, there's a gas station up on your side of the car up there at the top of the hill." And he was like, "How do you know?" I said, "I just know it's there." And they got down. My mom goes, well, let's go see. And we went down and got up, and my dad turned in. There was a gas station, and there was like a souvenir shop with the bathroom inside. And my mom said to my dad, I'm going to take the kids to go to the bathroom. And I just started walking. My mom goes, Gloria, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the bathroom, Mom. This is where they go, where they are. And she followed me with my brother. And sure enough, the bathrooms were there. And I had never physically been there before.
Oh, that's some psychic abilities. Now, I think we skipped over the dimensional thing. I wanted to go back and ask you about the dimensional idea. Now, Gloria, when you went to these other places, where were you at? Were you in bed or were you walking? Sometimes these dimensional slips or time slips, they say, happens. You can just walk into a store, all of a sudden you're someplace else. I saw a documentary on that. Where were you at when these dimensional or time slips happened to you, Gloria?
I've had one time slip where I was walking my dog, and I walked through right by this place every day. And next thing I know, everything got dark. There were no birds singing. I could see reptilian animals to my left. And my dog looked around like, what's going on? And started sniffing. And the trees took on a different appearance. And it's like, okay, let's keep walking. And when we walked out from under the trees, we were back in our present day. But the other times when I've taken trips, it's been in my sleep.
Well, now you said reptilians. Are we talking about reptilian ETs, Gloria?
I don't. They were more like a prehistoric reptile that you have seen on the movies and the shows, but I have seen reptilians following me while I was walking my dog.
Really? What did they look like? They're ugly, aren't they?
They are. I saw the black silhouette and stuff, and he goes, "I'm following you." I said, "Yeah, I know." And I looked back there and kept walking my dog, and I didn't exhibit any fear. And I could feel like he was breathing down my neck. And I'm just like, will you please back up a little bit, please?
Yeah. Yeah. It is fascinating because a lot of experiencers like yourself, not only do they come in contact with one species of extraterrestrial, but it seems like the rest of them start following in line and say, okay, what does this species see in this person? So they want to see what's going on with your DNA and with your frequencies. And so you'll run into several different kinds of species of ETs, I guess, Gloria. Is that how you felt about it too?
About 18. I have them on my blog, and one person added them up, and there were like 18, including the orbs. It's interesting that you said about what the species come in line, because the night before, what you call the Bigfoot um, extraterrestrial, I was in bed, a spaceship, and it was the Pleiadians. And then I remember being in the arms of one of them right above my bed, and they lowered me on. I opened up my eyes and I just saw their energy. And it was quite beautiful. And they laid me on my bed, and I hear that they're healers. And I thought, I wonder what I was healed from, but I don't know. And then the next night, the big hairy things came for a visit.
I want to ask you, I know I've experienced this. Uh, Gloria, have you ever felt like you've been electrocuted or like a lot of static energy around you, electrical energy?
Yes, I can't wear watches. They stopped running, and that's been since I was a child. They just literally stop uh, completely. And yes, when I walk across, if I'm in shoes, I have to touch the walls or stuff. But if I run around in socks or barefoot,
Mm-hmm.
I don't build up a charge inside of me. So I don't know if it's the shoes I'm wearing or being a good conductor,
Yeah.
but I know that there are times where I've touched my dog and she'll go like this,
Yeah.
and you hear zap.
My wife does the same thing with me. I'll put my hand on her shoulder or something, and and pat on her, and she'll say, "Oh, your electricity is high tonight." So she understands what I've been these little things that's been going on around us in our place. Uh, Now, I wanted to talk to you about your book, and I know your book is loaded probably with a lot of other things in which you talked about some of them. Could you tell us some other exciting things that we can find in your book, Gloria?
The after the mating, there's a ritual. We call them baby showers. but I describe in detail what that's like. And I describe, what else do I describe? I talk about the intimate contact that I've had with the extraterrestrials, and more about, my children, what my life was like being married, to my husband, and what happened, why I had to, the ramifications of being pregnant with extraterrestrials, what happened to my body physically, and how the doctors have said that there are different things that I have that's not normal. My spine was curved in a backwards position, not like scoliosis to the side, but completely backwards. And they had never, completely, they hadn't seen that before. And I'm still having issues with it, and with exercises and stuff. And I talk about going inside one of the planets, and what my experiences, were there with other animals and plant life, and how it was when I was an extraterrestrial being in there, and how I was able to absorb nutrients without chewing.
Were you born with any birthmarks, any special birthmarks, Gloria?
Yes, I was. I had a raspberry mark on the back of my neck, which my mom said was common. And then I was born with a mole, and that ended up getting removed, but it was benign. It was growing, and now it's growing back.
Darn ETs, huh? But has there been anything recently happened to you, Gloria, that any synchronicities, anything in the house that went, bunkers in the night or whatever? Anything that you can think of that just happened just recently?
Yeah, my phone gave up the ghost. It just stopped. It started acting up, was having problems. I had to buy a new phone. And now this one's acting up a little bit. I'm just like, what is going? I'm like, can you please just not mess with my phone?
I get the same feeling. I think something's messing with my electronics, like my phone. Sometimes it'll just blank out while I'm on LinkedIn or Facebook. It'll just shut off on its own. And my computer, right now, like I'm writing a book, and it'll change my fonts on me. And I've been using Word now for what? This is my fourth book. And something's changing my font back and forth, like it's aggravating me. My camera, they run out the batteries on my camera. My TV makes channel changes, and it just made a channel change yesterday, and I was awake and aware of it. And I think it's coming from me, actually, in a way. I don't know, and Spectrum cannot explain to me why it's doing that, why it's making channel changes. So things do happen around people that are being followed. Tell us a little bit how we can find you on your blog, and then tell us about your books.
Before that, my computer has been hijacked not once, but twice. I have not been able to do anything on it after it's booted up. It's like I could tell somebody's in there. I've had pictures that were missing that I have backed up, and some files that were missing that I'm glad I back up on flash drives.
Right.
But
mine's been hacked a couple of times too, and it went blue screen twice. And somebody, the expert told me, and he was a hacker qualified. He said that somebody got in there. It wasn't a college kid. He said this was professional. And he said he can't tell me because he worked with the police himself, so he's in forensics. So, yeah, there's different people who want to know your information. That's a fact. Now, okay, we're running out of time, so tell us about your blog and about your book.
My blog is about extraterrestrial life, UFOs, UFO sightings, any experiences that I have, any special messages that people may have, that the extraterrestrials may have, that they want me to bring forth. And I put them in video format on Rumble. And also people can find me on Twitter, Gloria Hass. And I cycle those different articles with links. And my books, the Blank Line Journals, there are like 19 or 20 of them with all different covers. They're really beautiful that I have designed, and people can find them on Amazon, along with Stories of the Heart, how to elevate your business and your life. And there's Healings from Your Life workbook. And there's also
your new
Rose's Debut, which is a time travel, which
Yeah.
isn't selling, but it's like, it's okay.
All on Amazon. Even your new book,
Right.
that we
Mhm.
just mentioned, that's on Amazon. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we're running out. We always run out of time on these interesting topics and subjects, and I want to thank you, Gloria Haas, for coming on the show. Thank everybody. You've been listening to the Dave Emmons Show, and hope you enjoyed this interview. Thank you, and thank you very much, Gloria.
Thank you.